guys, welcome back to my channel, Spooky Wisps ASMR. Tonight we are going to be reading some more true, creepy short stories. Thank you for watching, and I hope that you enjoy. So this is a shorter story that my dad told me that happened when I was about 1 or so. We were living in New Mexico at the time, and we're out for a Saturday just exploring. We were going between places where my dad decided to stop the car at a local gas station to fill up, and had left his credit card at home, so he was going to have to go into the gas station to pay. Meanwhile, all the excitement of the day was just too much for me as a baby, and I soiled my diaper, as you do. So my mom realizes what I did and grabs her diaper bag and lays me down in the back seat of the car. She was standing outside the car changing my diaper. Then all of a sudden, my dad comes running up to the car full speed and asks, "Are you alright?" My mom is really confused and asks what he means. My dad then goes on to explain that when he was in the gas station, he looked out towards the car and noticed a man who was sitting in a lawn chair nearby. He noticed the man stand up and didn't think anything of it. My dad looked away for a couple seconds, and when he looked back, he saw that the man had acquired a tire iron and was hunched over slightly while approaching our car with my mom and I. My mother's back was turned to the man into the gas station, and so she didn't see him coming. My dad said the man was about 20 feet from my mom and I before my dad ran out and yelled at the man, who promptly took off running in the opposite direction. Then my dad came to meet us at the car and saved the day. I shuddered to think about what the man would have done to my mom and I if my dad hadn't been paying attention. Also, the area in New Mexico we lived in was not exactly safe, and this was not the first or last creepy/dangerous experience we had in our area, so we moved to Colorado later that year. When I was a kid, like 9 years old, my sister and I were doing swimming classes together at our community pool. So one evening after my mom picked us up from the pool, and she told us to get ready to go to the grocery store. My family owns a restaurant, and we were a comfortable bunch of people to say the least. But earlier in the day, someone had cut a pipe outside the house, and whilst an employee of ours was fixing the pipe, he left the door open, and a man came into our home and hid all day long, literally from like 10 a.m. Now this is at 6:30 p.m. I went upstairs to shower to get the chlorinated water off of me before we left home, and my sister was changing in our room. Someone, the guy, came into the bathroom and started rummaging through the drawers. I asked what my sister was looking for because I couldn't see through the frosted glass, and at that point I assumed she was looking for something for her hair. Then the guy literally froze and jumped into the shower with me. He pulled off his shirt and draped it over my head, and at that point I was screaming. I crouched down into a ball to protect myself, and I screamed for dear life. Some guy from the street heard me screaming, and he bolted through the house before anyone else could have come and helped me. And the guy who was in the shower with me got freaked and jumped out and ran out the back door. At this point in time, my dad had already gotten his gun and was running to see if I was okay. I was too traumatized to go into the bathroom by myself for like a year and a half after that. So this happened about 4 months ago, and I'm a 14-year-old male. We have a Bernese mountain dog called Ava, who is 2 and weighs around 120 pounds, so she's very big. She's a quiet and lazy dog, but also seems to be alert at all times. So one night, my parents went out for dinner and left me at home with Ava. I was downstairs watching TV, and my lounge is right next to the front door. Around 8 p.m., the door rang, and I opened it to see a guy in fairly plain clothes standing there, and he told me he had a delivery here. I was confused because he didn't look like a delivery driver and had no parcel. Suddenly, I turn my head and see another guy around the side of my driveway, which goes to our back door, and he starts to walk towards the back door. I freak out, and the guy at the door notices this and barges through, shouting for the other guy. This is when Ava wakes up and begins to let out the loudest bark I've ever heard, making the guy stumble back. get Ava to stay so I didn't lose her, and they got away. I was so shook up, I rang my parents and then the police, and I gave them a statement. Safe to say, Ava got plenty of treats from then on, and I always keep her nearby when I am on my own. I was a 19-year-old female when this took place. It wasn't overly late, and probably about 8 p.m., but it was winter, so it was already dark. I was walking home from visiting a friend, and about 20 minutes from home. It was quiet, and I had headphones in, just listening to music, so I didn't hear this guy approach from behind me. All of a sudden, this cyclist has slammed his brakes on directly beside me and is staring at me. I take my headphones out and glance at him, but he doesn't speak, just stares. I keep walking. I'm pretty close to home now, so I wasn't too worried. This guy starts cycling again, slowly now, matching my walking speed. I keep my eyes forward and ignore him, fully aware he's still looking at me. To get to my flat, I had to walk down this really quiet, dark country lane, and although it wasn't very long, it wasn't an ideal place to be with this guy. So I stopped and glanced down at my phone, hoping he'd keep going. He did, but for a short while, but then he stopped and turned to watch me. There was no way I was walking down that lane with this guy there. So I crossed the street and went down another road, a well-lit one with lots of houses, hoping it would be safer. That's when he said something that chilled me to my core. "Where are you going? You don't live that way. I know where you live." I wanted to be sick. He could have been bluffing, but the way he said it, I believed him. I was terrified. I dialed my partner's number and kept walking, aware of this guy following me even now. When my partner answered, I quietly asked him to come get me when I heard the guy go, "Oh crap," and he cycled off ahead of me. I don't know what startled him so much. I guess it was because he thought I was calling the police, but he took off, and I'm forever grateful that he did. Years ago, when I was 11, I was staying home alone with only my little brother, who was 7. At the time, it was about 9 p.m., dark and pouring rain, and we were reading in our room, right next to the front door with a big window and open blinds. That's when I first heard the front doorbell ring, followed by knocking. I thought my parents had arrived. Strange, though, that they didn't use the garage or their keys. I looked outside to see their car. Nothing but rain. As I approach the door, I hear a man's voice that was not my father's yell through the torrent. "Would you like some cookies? We're selling Girl Scout cookies." I'm shocked at this, considering the weather and time of day. Saying nothing, I check the peephole and peer through the side window, only to see it was not a father with his girl as I expected. My heart dropped. Standing there was just a fully grown man, maybe in his late 50s. No box of cookies in sight, soaking on my doorstep. I can remember the gut-wrenching feeling of having to check the locks while he was right on the other side. For sure he heard this. The 2 locks are the only thing separating myself and brother from a potential monster. He continued to knock and mentioned his cookies, as I considered calling the cops. That's when I remembered the blinds were open in my room where my brother was with the light on. As I turned the corner to the doorway, I see the man carefully peering into our window, possibly eyeing my brother, who was distracted by his book. My heart was pounding now as I began to panic. In a move that took all of my willpower, I quickly turned off the lights and ran over to the window to close the blinds in full view of the man. As fast as I could, I double-checked all the locks in the house, closed all the blinds, and told my brother to go hang out in one of the big closets in the interior of the house. I didn't tell him what was going on, so he wouldn't be frightened, and for some reason, I never did call the cops or my parents. I just waited in the hallway until he left. Still thinking about it gives me the shivers that so many things could have gone wrong that night. My worst fear since is a stranger getting to the unlocked door before I do. When I was 8, my friend and I were supposed to be going to each other's houses to have a sleepover after school. We were friends for a while, so we knew a lot about each other, so we both knew the stranger danger rule. Anyways, when we were done with school, we were on the sidewalk looking for a his mom's car until this beat-up blue and red Chevy pulled up beside us. He was an ugly-looking guy, Hispanic, with a dirty beard and ragged-up clothes. When he pulled up to us, he said, "Hey boys, I'm taking you home." We kept asking him who he was, and he still didn't answer. We asked him if he knew of my friend's mom, but he just kept responding angrily with, "You kids, just get in the car, now." We got scared with his yelling until my friend spotted his mom and said, "Hey look, there's my mom." When his mom's car pulled up, the man took off, not stopping to get another child or even his child. We told his mom what happened, and she told us that we were brave and that we were able to notice the danger. We shrugged it off and went on to his house. 5 months later, me and my family were on a bike ride down the road. I was way past my mom and brother and was the only person seen on the road. My road has a left turn and a straight road after that. We were planning on going straight, but then I saw a familiar car, a blue and red Chevy with a Hispanic man in the driver's seat. He slowed down when he saw me, and I was thinking that he would be waiting for me to turn left. So I pretended to turn left, waiting for him to follow. And once he did, I quickly turned around towards my family and told them about it. After that, we went home, and that was the last time I saw him. I was with my dad going to the sporting goods store when I was about 13 to 14 years old, and when we were walking in, we split up and went to different sections. I went towards the women's clothes, and while I was browsing, this guy in his 20s approached me and tried to chat. The way he spoke to me, I could tell he thought I was at least 17 or 18, so I tried to just, yeah, sure, whatever, my way out of a conversation. He wasn't physically intimidating, but he was very focused on me. It was hard to shake him as I wound my way through the section trying to find my dad. Suddenly, when we were in between two racks in a display wall, he grabbed my upper arm with so much force I thought it would break. Before I could say anything, he put his fingers to his lips and said, "You're going to walk out of here with me, and you're going to keep your mouth shut. You got it." I was shaking at that point and just nodded lightly. He started to pull me towards the front door, and out of absolutely nowhere, my dad slides into the aisle on the other side of the guy. He leans over and says, "You let her go, and then you run." I'd never seen that amount of crazy in anyone's eyes, and apparently neither had the guy, because he bolted out the door before I could even comprehend what had just happened in the past 30 seconds. After I had calmed down, my dad told me his side of the story. He saw a guy talking to me from the next section over and thought he was just an employee. Then he noticed that I was trying to walk away, and the guy kept pursuing me. When I disappeared all of a sudden, my dad made a beeline for the last place he saw me. He saw the guy standing with me and had a gut feeling that he needed to intervene. When he saw that the guy had me by the arm, he went into full whoop-ass mode. It definitely pays off to have a dad who served for 25 years in the army. His spider senses are finely tuned, and I'm thankful every day to have him watching my back.